All right, well, welcome to episode number 39. I believe we are here now. Yeah, episode 39 of the Oklahoma Weather Show today, October 22nd. We are getting ready to enter into the month of November, severe weather season. Kind of didn't really happen a whole lot this year, and then we are now in our mini severe weather season here in Oklahoma, although we certainly haven't seen a whole lot. But it's time to get to know the KOCO crew, both behind the scenes, what you see on camera, what happens behind the camera, and of course the gentlemen that are always out on the roads bringing pictures to you as storms are developing, whether they're severe thunderstorms, whether they are tornadoes, or even just good old-fashioned snow, which we're getting ready to probably go into talking a lot more about in the coming months. So let's bring on our some of our storm chasers that we have here at KOCO. We have Jeremy Carter. He's the gentleman sitting in the car. We have Corey Inman up in northern Oklahoma. We're going to get a few more on here throughout this podcast. Jonathan Conder, great to have you back, by the way. Jonathan, a lot happening in your life, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But take it away.
Well, I really wanted to have, and sorry about my video, kind of rolling with the technology here. For some reason, the camera in the weather center isn't working, so I'm doing all this with my smartphone, and for some reason the video doesn't want to work. So you just get to see my talking picture. That's all that you get, which is fine. But anyways, we had a really quiet severe weather season this spring, and when it comes to tracking severe weather, Doppler radar is a phenomenal tool for locating the storm. But having storm chase and work in the studio and tracking tornadoes, how important it is to have reliable eyes on the storm. And a lot of times, we talk about our chasers, their names get up on the map, their video goes up. But while the weather's kind of quiet right now, I really just want our KOCO viewers and all our people who follow us on our podcast to get to know our storm chasers. And I just wanted to take this podcast. I was set up to line up our guests, and I thought, man, we need to get our storm chasers on here, our fast units. First Alert Storm Team, FAST, and that's what they are. They're fast, they're on the storm, and I'll be honest with you, I am so glad we have these veteran storm chasers that I can trust. So when sometimes severe weather happens and you're in the weather center, and sometimes you're all by yourself and you don't have a lot of help, it's good to know that I got people like Jeremy and Corey, Chance, and Buck out there that if the storm is going to do something, they're going to let us know and I can trust them. So I want to take an opportunity to get to know our storm team, to know our fast units. So there you go. That's the whole topic for today. We have Corey, we have Jeremy, waiting for Buck to join. Chance isn't going to make it. He got called out to work today, so we'll have to bring him in at another time. So there you go.
Well, they have lives, I mean, obviously, all of these guys do something besides just storm chase. So, Chance, we get, he's out in the field. Jeremy, we kind of got him in between jobs. Same thing with Corey. But good to have you guys on today.
That's the first time I've heard that acronym, too. Sad to say that I didn't know that FAST was First Alert Storm Team. But thanks, Jonathan, for clearing that up.
Well, I must have done a bad job of trying to teach you all the things that we have back there in the weather center. Fast video, and actually we got
with the acronyms.
Someone sat there for a while trying to figure out, okay, how can we come up with an acronym for this? So, hey, Jeremy, let's start with Jeremy first. Jeremy, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, what do you do now? What do you like to do? What don't you like to do?
I born and raised in Oklahoma City. My voice is still hoarse. Been having allergies. But I graduated Westmore High School, class '95. I enjoy the outdoors a whole heck of a lot, and that's where I want to be.
Now, Jeremy, I gotta ask you this because I feel like you do a lot of chasing. How many hours every year would you say that you go storm chasing?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't even try to guess that.
I mean, I would say, Corey, jump in here. Since you always talk a lot about Jeremy, how many hours would you say that Jeremy's chasing?
If there is a rain shower anywhere within 200 miles of where Jeremy's at, he will be there. I promise you. and he will not get home until 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I'll pick that up. It'll be 4 o'clock in the morning, and my phone will start blowing up in the middle of the morning. Before the 4 o'clock, it's the middle of the morning for me, and it's none other than Jeremy. There's one storm in all of Oklahoma. He's like, hey, I got some great hail video of this storm out here, and who knows where land. And I'm like, Jeremy, what in the world? And I'm like, well, great. He always comes back with some really good video. One sign blows down an entire thunderstorm. He has that one sign blowing down.
Jeremy, I gotta assume, Jeremy, that your family misses you a whole lot.
No, they get too much of me. I think maybe everybody does.
So here's a question for Jeremy and Corey. For you guys can jump in when you want. What got you into storm chasing? I mean, what inspired you? What was your? I mean, do you have any stories about your first storm chase where maybe you're out there and you're like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing? You know, talk about the evolution of your expertise, I guess.
I think for me, the first thing I remember, first tornado I ever saw, our house was on the northwest end of town. Right across the road, you could see for miles. It was nothing but country. And I remember I was 6, 7 years old, and we had a tornado that went between our house and I-35, which was about 2.5 miles west. And I remember my dad and my neighbor standing outside looking at the tornado, and I was scared to death of it, but I crawled underneath a 1980 two-tone Ford truck and laid on the ground and watched this tornado because I thought underneath that truck was going to be the safest place. And ever since then, you know, anyone that you wanted to go out and watch. And I had the opportunity when I was 18 to join the emergency management here and help those guys out, and it just grew from there.
How about you, Jeremy?
Well, my dad was a contractor, and weather played a big role in what we did. And storms would fire up, we'd sit on the front porch and watch them. I'd watch towers go out. I'd be out working a lot, and as I got older, I could tell they was getting tornado warned by the.
He must be out on some.
Tornado warned by the. Just got to a point where I had to break off. Are you there?
Yeah, Jeremy, you're kind of coming in and out. You kind of sound a little bit like you do sometimes when you're out chasing. You're out in rural land and you're coming in and out of cell phone coverage.
Oh,
so start that over again.
I should be in a great area.
Jeremy, we don't have your stream.
All right.
So you're out. What you said? Your dad was a contractor, and you guys would just go out and you could just tell storms are going to be tornado warned by the way they looked.
Well, I would actually be on a roof a lot of the time, and I'd watch MO towers go up. And man, if they were tilting over and cranked, I could just about call them when they'd go warned. And in time, I got to where I'd finally break and chase them as I got a little older. But we'd always watch storms, sit on the front porch at night. We loved them.
So it basically sounds like we have two homegrown Oklahoma salt-of-the-earth storm chasers. You guys learn at a young age from maybe your just being out there, and also from your parents. But it sounds like chasing tornadoes has been in your blood for a long time.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that once you do it, and it's a rush, and you just want to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of an addiction. I think, you know, if you have a type A personality and you like to, you know, if you have an adrenaline rush, it's something that you want to feed. Now, I'll say one thing. People probably don't know this about Jeremy. Jeremy, you said, you know, you're contracting roofing, but there's something very unique about how you roof.
Yeah, I use hammers.
So not an air gun, because I think about roofing, and you see the guys out there. It's boom, 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 boom. They're using, you know, compressor lines and an air gun with nails. You actually do it by hand.
Yeah.
How and there's the video on the internet of you doing it. I've watched it. You know, I'm honestly, I'm dumbfounded. I mean, it's like you hold the nail, you tap it, and you hold it, pull your hand away, smack, and you can do it. How fast? What rate are you doing that at?
Oh, I don't even know. I've driven a 50-pound box of nails in a day before.
How many?
50-pound box of nails in one day.
Wow.
So now, how many nails are in a 50-pound box?
It will be gee, I'd have to do some math to figure that one out.
Now, I imagine, Jeremy, you've got to have some calluses on your hand if you're doing that.
Not so much anymore, but I have smashed my fingers bloody so many times. It's not even funny.
Hey, there's a video on YouTube, right? What do we search for? Jeremy Carter roofing, or it shows you. I mean, it literally sounds like you've got a nail gun when you do it.
Yeah, and that was just kind of a little porch I was doing for somebody. I really wasn't geared up to work. I was clean, and when I dive in, I come home looking like I had a wrestling match with an elephant or something. You know, I'm typically pretty dirty, black from head to toe, tar all over me. But yeah, I do.
Now, I gotta imagine, Jeremy, after the tornado, your business, I imagine your business just kind of shot up, didn't it? After any weather event, hailstorm, severe weather, you kind of come out after the weather's been at its worst, huh?
Yeah, it's really hard on me. Tornadoes don't really benefit me all that much. I do better with hailstorms.
Have you had a lot of business? Let's see, because we've gone through a couple of hailstorms. Do you find yourself getting more work after the big hailstorms or after the small ones? Because it seems that it's the small ones that people tend to, I guess, not know a whole lot about until all of a sudden they go up there and say, oh, you have hail damage. And then when you have the big hailstorms, it seems that all these insurance guys are coming in, they're flooding the market. You have a lot of these, by-night roofing companies that come into the state, and all of a sudden it seems the place is just flooded with them. So how does your business differ between the big hailstorms and the small hailstorms?
The big hailstorms just bring too many people in.
I can imagine.
They bring way too many people in, and I get tired of fighting it. The tornadoes are real bad for me, but I do better if the storm will hit in a certain area where people are there that I know. Say like a portion of Oklahoma City could get hit. If I don't know the people in that area, I'll never get a call out of it. Whereas if Dale City or more, maybe an area like that gets hit, then my phone will get ringing off the hook.
Now, hey, Corey, I'll bring you into the conversation a little bit here. Corey, you do a lot of outdoor work, don't you?
Yeah, I own a lawn maintenance company up here. Do a lot of mowing, spraying, fertilizing, landscaping. Also involved in officiating high school and college sports.
So weather's a pretty big deal. I mean, weather is your job, just about, huh?
Pretty much. It dictates whether I work each day or how much I get done or if I get to work at all, you know.
What are people? What kind of landscaping are you doing up there these days?
These days it's kind of slow. We're getting ready to. Actually, tomorrow we're gonna start our fall spraying, and that'll probably last about a month, and we'll go from there.
What are you putting down for the fall?
Doing some pre-emergent to keep stuff from coming up next spring, and you know, if we've got anything coming up now, a little chemical in there to get rid of it as well.
You paint the lawns green. What is the deal with people painting their lawns green? Does that really help, or is that just for aesthetics?
That is, they're not actually painting the lawns green. That is, it's a dye indicator that we have to put in so that we know where we've sprayed and where we haven't.
I see.
Okay, now let me ask this, because my guy we don't get a green yard. Now everyone else in my neighborhood seems to get a green yard when the grass is completely brown. But the guys that come here, they don't put that green stuff down. So does that mean that I'm not getting an even spraying? Or are they good enough to know?
I don't know. I guess you'd have to check with them.
I will say I haven't had any weeds in my yard this year, so I've been pleased.
Usually our stuff is blue, but I've changed up some chemicals, so now it's green. I don't know how well I like that.
Well, I'm surprised you haven't made it sooner red. A little bit of crimson in there with the way that being the OU fan that you are.
We can use any color but orange.
Burnt orange would be or are you talking about Stillwater orange? Which one? Both?
Any orange. Does not matter.
Hey, look who joined in here, Jonathan. We got Buck King in here now.
Hey, I'm in.
Look at the head on that thing.
Good looking guy, Jonathan.
All right, well, so hey, Buck,
For
thanks
the
for
record,
joining us.
Corey has
We're
sprayed
just,
my yard a few times, and it's just okay.
Just okay. Jonathan, what you got?
I was going to say, so right now Buck King is joining us. Buck, you're up in Woodward. We've been talking about each one of our FAST units. Question for you, when did you first get into storm chasing? Was it, for Jeremy and Corey, it was when they were real young. When was the first time you saw a tornado? How did you get into storm chasing? Who taught you how to storm chase? Give us a little insight on that.
Well, I got to give Corey a little bit of credit here because when he was working with EOC in Blackwell, I was able to go out with him and his dad and ride around, and that really kind of got me into it. And if you've never done it, it's sort of addictive. So once it's in your blood, you want to do it. And from there, I just went through the National Weather Service Storm Spotter training classes and learned as much as I could learn about it. And then, going out on the road, it's kind of a hands-on experience. You kind of learn as you go. And by far of these guys that are on the Channel 5 team, I'm the rookie of the group and still have a lot to learn, but I lean on them for information and enjoy doing it.
And you're a little bit of your background. You're up in Woodward, and your background, you're assistant principal, right?
That's correct. Woodward High School. I'm assistant principal here, and I've just started my second year.
So so the kids nice to you up there since you're the new guy, Buck?
Pretty much, yeah. Kids are different today than they were 20 years ago, and it's all about relationships and how you treat them is how they return that respect to you. So it's a little bit different.
I can imagine. I remember being so scared of my principal and my assistant principal. I don't know nowadays if they still walk around with this mentality that you have to be afraid of them, or do they try to preach more of a let's be friends, let's get to know what's happening in your life type deal?
Well, there's sort of a phrase that we use in education that don't smile until Christmas, and there are a lot of people that abide by that, and I don't always necessarily agree that that's the best thing to do because they need to see that you're having fun at what you're doing, and if you're not smiling, there's a good chance you're not having a lot of fun. But there's some truth to that.
I can imagine. What's happening in Woodward these days? It's such a long drive from Oklahoma City, 3-hour drive. So I only get up there maybe once a year. I was up there a couple months ago. Drove up there early in the morning. Y'all have a beautiful new. It was hit by a tornado. The area was hit by a tornado a couple years ago. It's the it's like a center. It's a meeting center, higher education center. It's on the southwest side of town.
Yeah, it's a convention center that the city built right after that, and they hold a lot of meetings out there. As you can imagine, we're the kind of the hub for Northwest Oklahoma. So it's for this part of the state, it's the central location for things like that to happen. But yeah, they built a real nice convention center.
It's very nice. I remember going up there and being amazed at just how nice it was. It's brand new. And you're right. Woodward is definitely the hub of Northwest Oklahoma. I mean, I imagine going to Woodward's kind of like going to the big town. A lot of these smaller communities out there will come to Woodward to do their shopping, for retail, what have you. But you're new to Woodward, so you've been there for 2 years now. What are your thoughts on being that far northwest?
My first teaching job was in Lone Wolf, Oklahoma. I don't know if you're familiar with where that is, but it's in southwest Oklahoma, just west of Hope. And I swore I'd never go back to western Oklahoma, and for 17 years I didn't, but here I am. And I'm going to tell you something, I'm really pleasantly surprised with the city and the community. It's real progressive. We've got a big oil and gas boom that's been going on for several years, and the city has put that money that they've made right back into the Little League facilities and things like that. And I think you can tell a lot about a community by how they take care of their youth.
Hey, Buck, about a little over an hour ago, did you feel that earthquake? There was a 3.5 in Moreland, which is kind of interesting because there hasn't been a lot of quakes in northwest Oklahoma. But I don't know if you got to feel it in Woodward or not. Did you feel that one?
I did not. I mean, I felt an earthquake before we moved out here in Blackwell, but and you're correct. There hasn't been a whole lot of activity like that out here.
Yeah, this area started shaking. A couple weeks ago I noticed, and I don't know if there's a new drilling operation out there or um, what would. And of course, that just opened up my thoughts on earthquakes. But there's been a few. It's interesting.
Well, hopefully it doesn't increase too much out here.
That's a unique place to have them, Brad, as you mentioned. I mean, that's not usually an area that we look at. Usually we're either looking outside of Medford, Cushing, eastern Oklahoma County. So now to see Moreland on the list and a 3, to get something over a 3, that's news. That's definitely news of the day.
It'll probably keep me from getting earthquake insurance.
I bet it's coming. I bet it's coming.
Insurance, guys. If you don't, I live in Edmond, and there seems to shake all the time between Guthrie and Edmond. Quake insurance is not expensive. What the problem is with quake insurance, the deductibles are, the deductibles are outrageous. So really, it's not gonna benefit you unless your house collapses. I don't think. You really gotta pay a price. But it's $5, $6, $7 a month. It's real cheap.
That's all it is?
Yeah.
That's right. I forget. There's that area in between Guthrie and Edmond that's always getting them. Very seldom, though, do they ever make it down the Moore. I've only felt 2 of them down here in Moore. But if you're at the TV station, you can definitely not only feel them, but you can also sense them because everything starts shaking around. We have all these hanging lights. I almost feel like earthquakes, especially on the West Coast and now here, is that if you're in a TV station, that is the best place for a camera crew to be to show an earthquake happening because you just got to point up to the lights and just see everything swaying back and forth. So I don't feel them a whole lot down here, but when I go to work, I feel them. So, Jonathan.
Yeah, question for our storm chasers. I would say besides May 20th and May 31st of 2013, the Moore and El Reno tornadoes, is there a specific tornado event that sticks in your mind that will change the way that you storm chase? And I will start and share with you guys my experience. It was March 28th, 2007. There was an outbreak across parts of the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles, and actually there were tornadoes all the way up in Nebraska. And that day there were 80 tornado reports, and it was they were high-based. It was overcast. The humidity wasn't that great, but man, and you looked at them, you're like, these storms aren't going to tornado, but the shear was phenomenal. And so I was up near Pampa, Shamrock, and then we drifted north, and we ended up near Elmwood, and we got the storm motion was fast. Storms were moving 55 miles an hour, which that's hard to keep up with. But I got behind the tornado, so it was low contrast, and there's no roads. So you're out in Beaver County, Oklahoma. There are no roads, and
I can verify that.
Yeah, there are no roads. It's terrible. And then let me sidetrack myself, which I'm bad at doing. The roads, they got a lot of rain. So you have HP storms. They dropped an inch of rain, and then you get on some of the county roads, not the paved ones, but what I call cake frosting. So they're the top, you break through, and it's like 4 inches of goo, and then you slide off the road. And that was my problem. I got on one road, and we couldn't keep traction. I mean, we had a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and it was really hard to stay on the roads. Anyways, I remember this tornado, and I was doing live reports, and we were streaming video, and we're behind it. I could see it. I'm like, there it is. It's near Elmwood in Beaver County. It's a mile to my north. It's moving northeast. But after the fact, we found out that it hit a rancher's house and his wife, and they were killed. and it turned into an MCS. The dry line actually retreated. Another line storm fire. It was a wall of water. We were almost to Woodward, and the newsroom said, "Go back and shoot the video of where it happened." So it's the middle of the night, heavy rain, tons of lightning. They had just removed the bodies, and we're shooting video of the house. And I remember my photog got out. He's a veteran chaser, and I'm holding the umbrella for him. He's just doing his job. I'm holding the umbrella, and I just remember the walls were gone, the house was gone, but the piano was right in the living room where it was, and there was a hymnal wide open. So he's shooting video, and I just remember, you know what? Maybe if I would have gotten closer to that tornado, and instead of saying, you know, I'm on this highway, the tornado's a mile to my north, if I would have able to get more specific and say, here it is at Farm Market Road, whatever, and County Road, whatever. If I were to be more specific, maybe they would have sought shelter. Maybe they would still be alive today. And that changed the way I storm chase. Back then, when I was chasing, I was comfortable with being like 3-4 miles away. From there on out, I decided to get as close as I could without getting in harm's way so I could get a more accurate location of that. That day, March 28th, 2007, changed the way I storm chase. So for Buck, Corey, and Jeremy, do you have one event that changed the way that you chased?
I'll go ahead and go on that as the rookie of the group. I was riding around with Corey one day. I can't tell you the date of when it was, but Corey was driving, and I was kind of the one sitting over in the passenger seat doing whatever Corey needed done. And we start going down a road. We can't see our windshield wipers. It's raining so hard. And the wind starts blowing really bad, and we can't get anywhere. And after it's all said and done, we realize that there's a micro downburst, we believe, that hit Ponca City and blew up a lot of their industrial park. And once we got back to Blackwell, I had some tree limbs down in my yard, and my neighbor's carport was flipped over on top and hit my roof and was laying in my yard. It was at that point that I decided Corey couldn't drive anymore, that I was going to be the driver from now on. So that really changed it for me.
Corey, what do you have to say about it?
Oh, he's always got to be throwing somebody under the bus. He was actually the one that was navigating, and I was driving where he told me to go. But that was a scary night. It really was. You know, when we realized what happened as far as the downburst going through Ponca. I still don't know that it was a downburst. Could have been a tornado that went through there, just the way some of the damage happened. But yeah, that was a scary night. For me, I would have to say this was back in the late 90s, maybe 2000, when I was working for the Emergency Operations Center here. And, you know, all we did was we would go out and it was spotting. It wasn't chasing. And this particular day, every storm had been moving to the northeast. And it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm sitting at the local airport out here, and about a mile to my west is a huge elephant trunk funnel coming to the ground. I radioed in and start moving back to the east, and like I said, the storms all day have been moving to the northeast, so when I get to a good paved road, I turn back to the south, and when I turn back to the south, I'm driving through nothing but golf ball size hail. And this particular storm was not moving northeast, and it had turned right and was moving east, and I was in a place I shouldn't have been. So I realized then that, you know, just because you may have 5 or 6 storms and they're all moving one direction, you've got to know what's going on with that particular storm that you're on, no matter what's happened the rest of the day.
It's good advice. It's good advice. Jeremy, what do you have?
The only thing that's ever changed my chasing habits really was El Reno. I mean, I've been kind of a little bit of a chicken since El Reno. I've always liked to get real close. I do like to chase kind of in front of the storm a little bit. I like to chase in the dry spot if I can. And you don't always get that option, but that's just kind of my style.
You know, I can definitely confirm that El Reno probably changed a lot of people's chasing. You know, I mean, that day, the the inflow into that storm was tremendous. It was over 100 miles per hour. And Jeremy, I remember coming to you on air that day, and you said, I may have just, experienced some of the strongest inflow winds that I've ever experienced in this storm, and I know that you've experienced a lot of storms. So, yeah, El Reno was definitely a game changer. I don't get the opportunity to go storm chasing a whole lot. I've never really seen a tornado except through the viewfinder of someone's camera lens, just because I'm always in the studio having to work them. But back before I came to Oklahoma City, I was down in Abilene, Texas, and I had a buddy of mine who would go storm chasing a lot, and he's now one of the main storm chasers for the CBS affiliate down in Dallas, Fort Worth, KTVT. We were chasing one day, and it was up in northern parts of the big country of Texas, where there are hardly any towns, and so there's not many street lamps. And we ended up on the wrong side of the road because it was raining so hard, and we have absolutely no idea how long we were on the wrong side of the road. But because we were on the wrong side of the road, it's amazing that we did not get into an accident, and get in some serious trouble there. That right there was the moment of, we're pulling off on the side of the road, and we're going to wait for this storm to finish. And when we pulled off on the side of the road, we pulled off about 10 feet because we didn't know if anyone else passing on through, could have been a truck, could have maybe veered off on the road and possibly hit us. So we pulled all the way off on the side of the road, but it was that was a scary moment for us. And me being from the East Coast, I'd never storm chased when I was on the East Coast, and when I was in Abilene, I only got to storm chase a little bit because I was always having to work storms. So it seems that we all kind of have a storm chasing experience that kind of sticks out. But that was mine. That was definitely mine.
Well, Corey, Buck, and Jeremy, what do you see the future of pacing 5 years from now? How's it going to change?
Well, obviously we expect technology to get better, but storms are so unpredictable that's why you have us out there, is to kind of be that eye in the sky, to either agree with the technology or to add something to it. So technology is going to continue to get better, and hopefully we're given good enough warnings now, but we can only hope it gets better so that we can provide safety for lives.
I agree that the technology is going to have to keep getting better. We're going to have to keep getting better. We've got to just like from El Reno, we've got to learn from it and do stuff different. People are starting to chase with drones. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we just keep getting better along with the technology and make sure that what we're doing is to improve the warning process and to save lives instead of just trying to go out and make a buck off of getting a good video.
Jeremy, what are your thoughts?
I think it'll be a lot. I think it'll be a lot of the same. I think as our population continues to increase, I think it's going to become more dangerous for us and all of us. I think in the rural areas it'll probably stay the same, but I think around the city, especially, I think it's going to just continue to get scarier for us. That might be all I can say about it. I've always noticed big events around the city, especially on the weekends, traffic becomes a nightmare.
I totally agree. I mean, chaser convergence, it's getting worse. And I thought after El Reno that chaser convergence would have come down. And from what I've heard from you guys, it seems like it's getting worse. I do think our ability to stream the video, I think with multiple air cards and these Teradecks and TVUs and Damon said this the other day in the Weather Center. That's the future of streaming, is that you have a bunch of air cards and you have HD stream and the quality is great and you won't drop. And maybe we're about 5 years out from that. But I mean, you really can't. The next thing is drones. Personally, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think chasers get it that if you're going to throw a drone up in front of a supercell thunderstorm, the inflow winds are just going to pull it in. You won't catch it. it's gone. It's like, there it goes. Nice, there goes your $1,000 quadcopter, and it's gone. And a lot of chasers I've spoken to said, oh, hey, we're just going to shoot the damage afterwards. I think it's the next biggest thing. You have these, TIVs and tanks and dominators. That was the big wave. Okay, I'm gonna throw a quadcopter up. I'm gonna get video from my quadcopter. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that's gonna be a danger, because you're gonna be too worried about flying your copter. It's gonna become a projectile. You're never gonna find it, and then you're a risk to other chasers, and then our helicopter. I don't want a quadcopter up in our actual helicopter, which is controlled. Anyways.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I think the future of storm chasing really rests on the backs of Verizon Wireless, AT&T, all of these cell phone companies, because it's up to the cell phone companies to be able to set up a network that is good enough and has enough power to bring out a signal into rural Oklahoma. You have 4G LTE service. We're on our way up to 5G in just a little bit across these big metropolitan cities. But let's face it, we all know a lot of our tornadoes develop out in western Oklahoma and northern Oklahoma over rural lands, and it's going to have to come down to having that having that service and that bandwidth. So I mean, you're probably going to have to grill cell phone companies pretty hard to put up more towers and build their network. But that's probably what the future is going to solely rest on for now.
Well, and they have started. I mean, if you look in the last couple of years, like last year, I was using Verizon when I was in northwestern Oklahoma, and you may get a signal, you may not. And AT&T in the last year has done a tremendous job with increasing their coverage, and I don't know that I've had any issues at all this year with AT&T in that area.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, the times I've been up there, I've been on one bar, traveling up into Woodward. But that's probably the future. That's the future. So, hey, Jonathan, anything else you want to wrap up on?
No, unless our chasers have a last-minute item they want to say. I've got all the questions in.
Well, I would just say, Jonathan, you and Damon, thank you guys for helping us when we're out there and giving us the information that we need. And we know you have probably the toughest job of keeping everybody informed, but we try to do our best to keep you informed from where we're at. And thank you for what you guys do for us.
Well, thank you for all that you all do. I mean, you are our eyes where we can't put them. So, thank you. Corey, anything you want to add? Closing remarks?
No, I mean, Buck's spot on. You guys do a great job, and on a day that it is going to storm, you guys are on top of it. We know what you guys are thinking and where you want us, and we hope that we're doing as good a job for you as you guys are doing for us.
Jeremy?
Nothing I can say with that in place.
Well, we certainly appreciate all that you guys do to help bring those pictures, and many Oklahomans appreciate what you all do to help bring pictures, because it is your pictures out in the field that help them react and give us that heads up of hey, this isn't just a Doppler radar indicated tornado warning, but this is indeed a tornado. You can see it. So we appreciate all that you do, and the one message that we want to stress out to every storm chaser out there is be smart, think right, and don't be dumb.